Hello, today for review I've got probably not new, but at least the most recent addition to iBasso in their monitors lineup, the affordable model they named IT00. iBasso released few really good in-ear monitors in the past, hybrid IT03 and IT04, I reviewed them, and two really popular single dynamic driver models, IT01 and 01S. In 01 they used some interesting graphene coated dynamic driver. So here it's a multi-layered graphene diaphragm incorporated driver with Helmholtz resonators and in the IT01S, if I remember right, they used some more sophisticated dynamic driver, and now they decided to release the more affordable model. If I remember right, price is about $70 for the IT00, and let's talk what you will get for this price. So package is simple. As a polygraphy hint, earphones are made in white plastic, so box is also using the white colors. Technical specifications are printed on the back panel, so for us the most interesting is sensitivity 106 decibels and 16 ohms of impedance. Besides that, description of driver, detachable cable mentioned, and comfortable fit. Inside we will have another box, warranty card with manual, earpieces themselves, and small but pretty good storage pouch, storage case, it's not pouch. 3 type of tips, stock cable, and a set of replaceable filters. It's not the sound tuning filters, if I understand right, it's just spare filters. If something will happen with existing ones, for example, they can be too dirty, so you can replace them. Nice touch anyway. 3 type of filters, let's see what they are. Regular black silicones, gray silicone. So to show you the difference, you can see the wider openings here, and also white silicones. 3 different set of tips of 3 types. White are pretty similar to this gray ones, but they are softer. And the stock cable with a traditional stripe of velcro for winding and organizing. As you can see, stock cable is pretty soft and easy tangling, so you'll need something to organize it better. In terms of design, it's almost classical iBasso shape. It looks like a triangle with a bit of rounded edges, nice and ergonomic, fitting well into ears. As you can see, spout is pretty well extended with a good length, so sound isolation is even a bit above average. There are few vent holes, but anyway there is a slight driver flex, so when you will insert these earphones into your ears, do it slowly, not push faster. Filters are easy to replace, so you can unscrew them. Probably some details of driver is visible there, or not driver, not sure what is it. And screw back. So there is a lip for holding the tips, and there is a grill, and as you can see, pores in this grill are really small, so it will be really hard to clean it if some dirt will get inside. So having them replaceable is a really good idea. So tips are holding pretty well. fitting well into ears, so probably there won't be any issues with fit for almost everyone. And in terms of design, I think it looks nice. Of course, it's a matter of taste, but nice white glossy plastic. Actually, it's second glossy white earphones in my reviews, and before them it was NUX1. But NU was made of metal, and those are plastic. These are plastic. Build quality is also nice, so I think it's really fair for this price range, or even better that one can expect. Cable is made replaceable. Here used MMCX connectors. Pretty good, nicely clicking in place. Not sure how they will behave in few years, but at first sight they looks pretty reliable. Stock cable is absolutely common, so nothing fancy, no attempts to make some audiophiliac wire, just black cable, ear hooks, but without memory wire, so just holding the cable in place. Really soft with zero microphonic effect, a bit tangling, but not getting hard when it's cold outside. And here it goes braided straight to this angled jack. So, well, you know, it's nothing fancy, but it's a good cable that does its job really well. If you need some more fancy wires, there are a lot of options, but I tried few cables, no need in cable rolling for this model. And it's common for dynamic drivers. Dynamic drivers rarely change the sound because of cable. So, to summarize this part, design and build quality are really good, really great accessory set, nice packaging, so for $70 I couldn't wish for more, and it's a good lesson for companies like KZ that put just 2 or 3 pair of tips and just a cable in small box. So iBasso really don't try to save every single penny, giving you more tips and actually even a pair of replaceable filters, which is really nice. And of course, about the sound, I gave them about 30 hours of burn-in and I didn't got big changes in sound, so there was slight difference during first 10 hours or so, but after that sound settled, and much better to spend the time finding a proper tips, because tips are really important here and they can change sound pretty noticeably. Actually, not the tips themselves, but improper fit. So just find the tips that will isolate your ears securely and comfortably at the same time, and these earphones will show their highest potential. In one of reviews I saw the opinion that they require cable swapping, but as I've said before, I'm not agree here, and impedance of this cable is slightly above 1 ohm, but for dynamic drivers it doesn't make a big difference. But I try a few cables, maybe I try some wrong cables, but actually that fuse LCRE, for example, didn't change sound noticeably. And let's have a player on the table. Well, first I thought that it's better to put iBasso DX220 Max, but then I thought that Max is a noticeable overhead for inexpensive in-ear monitors, and most organic or most natural pairing will be DX160. I've got original version with better screen and probably a bit worse sound, but I didn't test 220's version, so I'm not sure did they change sound much or not. Anyway, let's go back to these earphones, and comparing frequency response, this model is really close to the original IT01. But you know, besides similar frequency response, they still have a difference. It's not like night and day difference or huge difference, but still IT00 offers a bit more mass market signature, let's say so. It's more tuned towards the wider audience, and let's talk about that. So bass here is accented, it's fun, it's engaging, it's pretty big, and probably it's not bass head model, but bass here is really noticeable, and it's accented, but thanks to the control and resolution it's almost not bleeding onto mids. There is a slight bleed that colors lower mids, giving them a bit sense of warmth, but actually, you know, it's not a flaw or issue, it's just a signature of these earphones, and it's sounding pretty pleasant. And lows go really deep, so if you like deep bass, if you like rumbling bass, it's present here. Maybe not the biggest bass, but still really noticeable amount of lowest low frequencies, and really fair amount actually. So it's not too exaggerated. Maybe for those who like really bass head model it won't be enough, but for me, you know, it's slightly above my subjective preferences, but still really okay. Great experience with electronic music with synthesized low frequencies, but also thanks to the resolution and technical capabilities, it's pleasant to listen with acoustic instruments. They are a bit bigger in size than they should be, but sounding with a lot of rich nuances, so nice and engaging way of low frequencies representation. But as an example, I will use Juno Reactor, Siberian. Well, I could select every single track by Juno Reactor, but this one has nice pumping bass line, but actually all their tracks have that, and nice samples with some Orthodox church singing, well, probably making references to the Siberia, so. And this balance is what I like in classical models with V-shaped signature. Actually, this model is not absolutely classical V-shaped signature, I will elaborate on this a bit later, but still they have accented upper mids to make a good fun contrast between the low frequencies and upper mids, and that makes them really enjoyable with such music. Mids are slightly colored with warmth on the lowest mids, but it's not spoiling them, they're still pretty resolving. Don't expect, of course, balanced armature-like resolution, but still it's pretty fast for the dynamic drivers, and this coloration quickly goes away, and upper mids are a bit accented to make sound a bit more forward. Sometimes, you know, even I can even probably call it a bit aggressive because of that forwardness, but it's really suits the sound in general, especially like with metal, with rock music. You know, it's a slight hint of aggression, not too much to my ears, but like a pleasant spice added to the sound. Resolution is good, but not going deep into the micro detalization, so they are average in terms of nitpicking, so even with something not properly recorded, they will sound good. Imaginary stage is above average, not slightly above average, not hugely above average, so averagely above average, let's say so. And width is a bit better than depth, but they still not sounding intimate. But of course, stage is subjective thing, so it depends on psychoacoustics. And as an example of mids, I got the track that I almost, and actually group that I almost never use as a reference, as a comparisons. You know, I like Dire Straits so much that when I tried to use them for critical listening few times, I stopped listening and I just enjoyed the music, because I like Dire Straits on almost every single earphones and players, so it's just the music I can't use to be critical. And your latest trick, classical tune, my wife like it, and I think many people like it. I won't be making this joke once again, that if you don't like it, you have no soul. Of course, it's just a joke. So just a good classical famous track with a good saxophone part, and actually this a bit highlighted upper mids makes these saxophone parts are a bit more forward, and actually it gives you a bit of more emotions, and actually highlighting emotions a little bit, and combined with guitar work and other stuff, it's sounding pretty engaging. It's even a bit more engaging than natural, or actually not natural, because I don't know how this track should sound in real life, but it's sounding more highlighted with emotions than let's say with Andromedas or some high-end earphones, so a bit highlighting emotions and accenting them. And treble is also a bit accented, but it really rolled off by, I don't know, 6 or 7 decibels after, I don't know, 4 or 5 kilohertz. So actually treble here is, for me it's comfortable, you know, it's not super soft, it's still present, and on some tracks it can sound too sharp, well, so no, not too sharp, it's forget it can sounding a bit sharp, but still it's a comfortable way of treble representation for me. Maybe for some treble sensitive person it could be too much, but I think it's a good balanced treble to satisfy the vast majority of people, and from one hand you'll get not too sharp representation, from another hand treble is not too recessed to sound soft or absent. Of course, extension is like average, maybe even a bit below average, but it was done on purpose, of course, because it's not the audiophilic model to give you like super extended treble with rich layering. It's just a normal basic treble of good dynamic driver to sound nice with cymbals, percussions, with high note overtones, but of course no audiophilic stuff. So it's just a good treble for this price range, let's say it. Attacks and decays are a bit softer than they should be, slower than they should be, but still resolution is nice. And as an example, I've got yet another famous track, so it's Pink Floyd Echoes, yes, Echoes, and as some say, it's the track that, actually not some say, it's pretty obvious when you listen to it, it's the track where Andrew Lloyd Webber took the famous chords for the Phantom of the Opera. And it's really long track, 23 minutes, there are lot of things going on here, but I like the introduction with that some probably the keyboard sounds really sharp, really high pitched, and they sounding nice with these earphones. And thanks to the stage, it's also sounding pretty engaging. So to summarize everything, actually it's pretty hard to summarize them because they are V-shaped, because lows are accented and upper mids and lower trebles are accented, but accent is less than for typical V-shapes. And they are pretty resolving, so there is not a big drop in mids, because mids are still present, big thanks to the good resolution. And they have a noticeable roll-off on the treble, also not huge, but to make things a bit more comfortable and polite. So, you know, it's kind of iBasso tried to create mass-market earphones, but at the same time they remembered that they are audiophilic company, and they definitely put some efforts into tuning them to satisfy the both parts. And in terms of pairing, they don't require something super powerful or something with really black background or some audiophilic, so probably few M11, iBasso DX160, it's the best pairing for them. I probably prefer iBasso DX160 because natural or bright sources sounding Well, maybe not too bright, but I just like them less. And two warm sources like hybrid dubs also, you know, not a bit not what it should be. You know, maybe it's kind of psychosomatic, because you expect iBasso earphones sound best with iBasso players, but out of all dubs that I've tried, this one really does the best job. And speaking about the comparisons, probably the closest rival in this price range, and actually the closest that I can recall, is Fuse FD1. It's like, you know, the battle of carbon versus beryllium, two modern popular technologies. So actually they are, you know, they are even close in terms of tuning, but actually Fio is a bit more focused on the micro contrast, a bit brighter for me, and with a bit less low frequencies. So just a bit leaning towards the more natural representation. There are a lot of other models, so iBasso's IT01 sounding a bit more aggressive and a bit more natural. Besides having similar frequency response, they sounding like having a bit faster attacks and decays for me. And IT01S, it's more natural with less low frequencies and a bit more treble. I don't know what other models are with dynamic drivers in this price range. Alpha and Delta D6, more linear, more focused on the micro contrast, less bass, so like quite opposite model. KBER Diamond, they sounding a bit warmer for me, with a bit more analog sounding, with a bit more analog-like sounding, let's say. So anyway, let's cut this shorter. It was a pretty long review, and I definitely recommend you to give these earphones a try if you're looking for something like in between of fun and audiophilic sounding. Probably iBasso IT00 can be a really good choice. So thank you for listening, thank you for attention, and have a nice day.